Many people move through life with the quiet sense that everything requires effort. There is always more to do, more to achieve, more to maintain. Even when progress happens, the pressure rarely disappears. Someone may increase their income, advance in their work, or reach goals they once hoped for. Yet inside, the feeling often remains the same, the sense that they must keep pushing in order to hold their life together. Over time, life can begin to feel less like a natural unfolding and more like something that must constantly be driven forward through effort. What many people describe as hustle is often not simply ambition or motivation. Very often, it is the nervous system attempting to manage internal tension by staying in constant motion. When the body does not feel fully safe with stillness, uncertainty, or receiving, activity becomes a way to regulate that discomfort. Doing something can temporarily create the feeling of control. The mind focuses on tasks, goals, and outcomes, and this focus helps the nervous system feel momentarily more stable. From the outside, this can look like productivity or determination. A person may appear disciplined, focused, and highly driven. Yet internally, the system may be operating from contraction rather than expansion. The body is not moving towards something because it feels open and capable. It is moving because slowing down would bring attention to the tension that is already present. In this way, hustle can quietly become a strategy for regulation. The person works harder, pushes further, and continually sets new goals. But the underlying state of the body does not change. The nervous system is still braced, still managing pressure, still organizing life around effort. This is why many people discover that even when their external circumstances improve, their internal experience often remains the same. Income may increase, opportunities may grow, and responsibilities may expand. Yet the body continues to operate as though everything must be held together through constant effort. In the somatic path, we begin to see that the real limitation is rarely effort. Most people already know how to work hard. They know how to push themselves. They know how to keep going even when things feel difficult. What is often missing is something very different. That missing piece is capacity. Capacity is the nervous system's ability to remain relaxed, open, and stable while life becomes larger. It is the ability to hold more opportunity, more visibility, more responsibility, and more resources without the body feeling overwhelmed or pressured to control everything. When capacity expands, effort begins to change. Action is still present, but it no longer comes from contraction. Instead, life begins to move forward from a state of greater ease. When we begin looking at this dynamic in everyday life, it becomes surprisingly easy to recognize. Many people say they want more money, greater opportunity, or a larger life. On the surface, this desire appears completely natural. Yet when those things begin to arrive, the internal experience can become more complicated. A person might receive a promotion at work or see their income increase. At first, this feels exciting, but soon a different set of sensations begins to appear in the body. There may be a subtle sense of pressure, a feeling of needing to prove oneself, or a quiet fear of losing what has been gained. Instead of life feeling easier, it can start to feel more demanding. The person works longer hours. They monitor their performance more closely. They become more careful about every decision they make. From the outside, this looks like responsibility and dedication. But internally, the nervous system may be tightening as life expands. This pattern appears in entrepreneurship as well. Someone may build a business with the hope of gaining freedom and flexibility. In the early stages, there is excitement and creative energy. But as the business grows, new responsibilities arrive. There are clients to serve, finances to manage, expectations to meet. Rather than experiencing more freedom, many people begin to feel as though they must constantly hold everything together. The business no longer feels like something that flows naturally. It begins to feel like something that must be pushed forward through effort. Another place this pattern appears is in productivity itself. Some people become so accustomed to operating through effort that rest begins to feel uncomfortable. If they take time away from work, the body may become restless. Thoughts start appearing about what still needs to be done. A quiet tension builds until activity resumes. In this way, doing becomes a form of regulation. The body has learned that movement and effort create a temporary sense of stability. When activity stops, the nervous system no longer has the same structure to organize itself around, and discomfort can surface. So the person keeps moving. They take on more projects, they set new goals, they push themselves to keep improving and expanding. To the outside world, this may look like ambition or discipline, but internally it can feel like a life that never truly settles. This dynamic also appears in subtle forms of self-sabotage. A person may say they want greater success, yet when an opportunity appears, they hesitate or delay. They may overthink decisions, create unnecessary complications, or quietly withdraw from situations that would move their life forward. Often this is interpreted as fear of failure, but very often the deeper experience is something else entirely. It is the nervous system sensing expansion and responding with contraction. More visibility can feel overwhelming. More responsibility can feel destabilizing. More financial flow can feel unfamiliar to the body. So the system attempts to return to what feels known. Sometimes this happens through overworking, where a person tries to control every outcome. Other times it happens through avoidance, where opportunities slowly fade because the system does not yet feel able to hold them. In both cases, the underlying dynamic is similar. The body is attempting to manage a level of expansion that it does not yet feel fully resourced to receive. This is why hustle alone rarely resolves the deeper tension people feel around money, success, or growth. More effort can create temporary results, but if the nervous system has not expanded its capacity, life will often continue to feel like something that must constantly be held together through force. The external situation changes, but the internal experience remains the same. When we begin to understand this dynamic, an important shift becomes possible. Instead of asking how to push harder or achieve more, we begin to look at something deeper, the state of the nervous system that is holding our life. In the somatic path, growth is not primarily about increasing effort. It is about expanding the system's capacity to remain stable as life becomes larger. When the nervous system begins to relax, the relationship with success, opportunity, and money starts to change in subtle but important ways. The body no longer interprets expansion as something that must be controlled. Instead of tightening around responsibility, the system can remain open while holding it. Instead of feeling pressure to constantly manage outcomes, there is a greater sense of steadiness and ease. Action still happens in our daily lives. People still create, build, and participate fully in their work and their lives. But the quality of that action begins to shift. It is no longer driven by the need to escape internal tension or maintain control. Instead, action arises from a system that feels more settled and capable. From this state, effort becomes more efficient, and then decisions become clearer and more direct. Energy is no longer consumed by the constant attempt to regulate stress through activity. Life begins to move in a different rhythm. Opportunities can expand without immediately creating pressure. Responsibility can increase without the body feeling overwhelmed. Financial flow can grow without the nervous system responding with fear or contraction. In this way, growth becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about allowing the system to expand naturally. This is how our internal capacity increases. And as capacity increases, the amount of life the system can comfortably hold begins to grow as well. This is why in the somatic path, the focus gradually shifts away from hustle. Not because effort is wrong, but because effort alone cannot create the stability that allows life to expand. That stability comes from the nervous system learning that it is safe to hold more. Stability allows our lives to truly expand. Thank you. At this point, it can be helpful to pause for a moment and bring your attention gently back into the body. Rather than thinking about the ideas we've been exploring, simply notice your own experience. You might begin by imagining something in your life that you are currently working toward. It could be greater financial stability, the growth of a business, a new opportunity, or a level of success that would expand your life in some meaningful way. Allow that image to be present for a moment. Then imagine that situation becoming slightly larger. More clients, more responsibility, more visibility for your work, more money flowing through your life. Nothing dramatic, just a small step beyond what currently feels normal. As you imagine that expansion, gently notice what happens in the body. Some people feel a sense of excitement or openness. Others may notice something different, a slight tightening in the chest or stomach, a feeling of pressure, noticing its weight, a subtle urge to manage, control, or figure out how everything would work. None of these responses are problems. They are simply signals from the nervous system about what currently feels familiar and what still feels uncertain. Very often, the places where the body begins to brace are the places where capacity has not yet fully expanded. This does not mean something is wrong with you or that you are not capable of growth. It simply means the system is still learning how to hold a larger life. When the body feels safe with expansion, something changes naturally. Opportunity no longer feels like something that must be controlled or forced. Responsibility can grow without creating internal pressure. Life can become larger while the system remains relaxed and stable. And in many ways, this is the deeper movement of the somatic path. Not forcing life to become bigger through effort, but gradually allowing the body to become comfortable holding more of what life is already offering. This perspective is part of what I call the somatic path, understanding how the state of the body quietly shapes the life we experience. When capacity expands, life no longer needs to be pushed forward through constant effort. If this conversation resonates with you, you can subscribe for future videos or continue with the next one, where we explore how the nervous system learns to expand its ability to receive.
Hi, it's Jim Daunt. My new book, The Somatic Path, is now available on Amazon. Go check it out. Also, if you're interested in some free ebooks, either check the links in the description or my website, jimdaunt.com.